Lust and Loss, a relationship series. I have the incredible Dr. Leo back with us again. Yay! Welcome, Dr. Leo. Thank you for being here. I am Lady Wake. I am your trauma transformation specialist, coach, and since relationships play such a big part in our life and we get a lot of trauma from our relationships and lack thereof, we're here to talk about it, okay? So, Dr. Leo, please introduce yourself to the people, let them know who you are.
Hey everybody, good evening. I am Dr. Leo, a brother of Lady Wake, um, almost twin brother. She missed me by about a year and 4 months, but very, very similar. Um, and I'm just a person who likes to study, a lot of human behavior, sociology, psychology, if you will. And I'm here to give my take on our topics.
Beautiful. Thank you for being here. This has been a very productive day for me, so this is my reward as we have this conversation. If you got a glass of wine to drink next to you, take a sip and let's go. Okay, so to begin, I want to go back a couple episodes where we had a young man who asked us about um, being boring, basically. So we had some questions come in, and we gave him a response, but it was from a woman's perspective that I gave him a response. And so I wanted you to weigh in on his question. He didn't give us much insight, details. He just said, women keep saying I'm boring. Why is that? Like, what is that about? I don't know what to do about that. Um, you have any insight on that? Why he might be boring to women?
Well, I have a lack of knowledge on his particular situation, but yes, I do have a lot of insight on that. And this very question tells me a lot about him.
Oh,
And so, the first thing I can say is that he's obviously not doing something that I always recommend, and that is finding out the background of these people that you're interested in.
hmm,
Particularly if you're interested in seriously dating. Number one, you have to know what type of person are they used to dating. What type of person were they normally attracted to? And I know, people are going to say, people can change this and that, but hold on. This is science class, not liberal arts. Okay. Let me do what I do. Now, there's
okay,
a distinct difference between possibility and probability, right?
right.
Depending on how old we are, everyone has a pattern of a type of person that they date. And very few people break the pattern because to break it, you have to recognize that you have a pattern. And
Right.
most don't do that, right? So he needs to know, obviously, he keeps dating the same type of woman, number one.
Hmm.
And he needs to know what type of man does she normally date because he could be an experimental type of dude, or he could be a space filler until he finds the man that she's actually attracted to. Or two, he could be a simp or a super simp who is only interested, yes, who's only interested in getting validation, and he's the type who's gonna do whatever he thinks that she likes instead of being himself,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And three, he is following her program instead of having his own ideas. He's just like whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Um, which is not necessarily being genuine, and people can sense when you're not genuine. Now, I don't want to get long winded, but if we have a second, I can tell this gentleman how I would normally reply to such a comment because I mean, that's happened to me, and I can definitely be a boring person depending on the woman.
Right. So I definitely want to hear how you will reply. And then if you don't mind, before I forget, I would like you to go back and tell everyone what a simp is and what a super simp is. I don't even know what that one is. So,
Oh,
but we want to hear how I want to hear how you will respond though.
okay. So you want me to go ahead with how I respond first?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really just giving this information um, for educational purposes, for this viewer, just to kind of give some ideas. And of course, I'm giving three completely different responses, hoping that one of them will be closer to his actual personality, because you have to be comfortable when you respond, because you don't want to, cash a check you're behind. Write a check you're behind can't cash,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because you're going to be stuck out there. So, number one, well, I mean, I'm childish as it is, so I assume that she's playing a game with me, right? That's the first thing I'm going to assume. I'm
Okay.
not taking it serious. I'm like, oh, she's trying to mess with me.
Okay.
I'm going to say something like, well, I'm going to ask her a question. I'm going to say something like this. Yeah, you're right. I am boring. And then I'll say, so let me ask you a question. Do you think you're not boring? And I would just leave it.
I like.
And and she's generally going to say something like, "Oh, are you trying to say?" No, answer the question. Oh, well, what are you trying to? No, answer the question. Right? I'm being playful, right? But I'm
Right.
giving something to think about,
Right.
because
Right.
if you want to be blunt, then we can both be blunt, right?
Right. Let's
But
go.
there's a way to say things. So if you want to put it that way, then let's talk about it,
Hmm.
right? And I'm gonna come back to that in a second, because there's more to that.
Okay.
Two, one thing I like to do every once in a while is stay silent. You can disarm a person by not responding at all. We could be sitting right next to each other, and you can say something to me that may be considered insulting or provoking. And if I don't say anything, you're going to be disarmed because you don't know how to respond,
So,
right? It's
yeah.
as if I never heard you. I'm just ignoring you, and I'll change the subject. You know what I mean? That's a, that's a
One of
beautiful.
my favorites.
Yes, it's a beautiful tactic, you
Yes.
know, where you're really responding with no response. So I think that's a wonderful method in a lot of situations, because normally if you're quiet long enough, then people will just keep talking and talking, and then you'll find out some information. Number three is respond with honesty. Now, this is going to go back to number one, right? When I said it depends on your personality. Now,
Mhm.
for men don't understand, right? That we, you lead by your idea or your thoughts of getting in bed with a woman. That's the first thing before you get to anything else. That's what most dudes in general, that's what you're focused on. So you're not paying attention to real life, right? You're not paying attention to anything until you get to that point. But reality is, right, if you take away the bedroom, if you take away the possibility of sex, you're going to realize, in a way, you're entertaining yourself, and you're thinking that you're being entertained by her. No, it's your own thoughts of her and what you want to do with her that keeps you engaged. But if you took sex off the table, she might be boring to you too,
Mm.
right? So why would you, really be concerned about it? The fact is, if you're boring enough, she's going to leave, right? If you're not really boring, well, you're going to find out. But it's all in your reaction, though. If you get upset, now you're sending her a signal that she can bother you easily and knock you off your square, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where you're going to lose immediately, right? If you want to exchange, insults, you're going to lose, right? Because she's going to say, okay, this dude's not mature. He can't handle himself.
Mhm.
That's why you have to assume that it's a test first, and you stay lighthearted till you're told otherwise.
Wow. Very insightful. That definitely makes sense. Because I can easily see a woman testing a man like that and then going, he's not mature enough to handle it. Like, I can see that easily. Wow. What up, Feature? Don't be a simp. Love yourself, fellas.
Obvious. Yes, Felicia, correct. And this is church now.
Good church.
She's correct.
So good. Um, now, tell us what a simp is, please. What is a simp? A super simp. That one was new for me. What's a super simp?
Super sim. Well, that's when you're in desperation mode, pretty much. That's when you're like, hey, why aren't you loving me? Why aren't you doing what I want you to do? Because, simping is dangerous. It's kind of like super simping is kind of like infatuation, where you go from being infatuated to being upset. There's a very thin line, and I'm sure most of you ladies have seen this at some point in your life, where if the guy isn't getting what he wants, he becomes hostile because he's simping so hard, he's not getting reciprocation in his mind,
Right.
and therefore it turns into aggression. You know what I mean? And it turns into deep self pity.
Mm.
You know, because their self esteem is so low, and that's all they're focused on is that validation that they're not getting. That's super simple.
Okay. Definitely experienced that before. I think most of us have.
I bet
Yeah, unfortunately.
it's scary out there.
It is though, because I mean, really, like women already feel threatened more often, like on a regular basis, than men do, just being out in public or being around strangers. So then when dating comes into play and you have a guy who, he's nice and sweet one point, then you're like, I'm not really interested. And he's like, well, F you, bitch. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Right.
What's happened here? Why? Doing 0 to 100. So yeah, it's kind of serious sometimes. But go on. And then a regular simp.
Oh, a regular simp is pretty much your average guy. When it comes to the pursuit of a woman, his personality is not his, right? He just becomes a chameleon to whatever he thinks that you want him to be. And his whole game is validation. He wants to receive, validation. He has to. Hey, JL, she's back. Um, and basically, he has no backbone, right?
Okay.
He's the type that he's gonna do whatever it takes for your approval, no matter how silly it makes him look. Which
Okay.
is the average person in general, the average guy.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Um, wow. Thank you for the insight. I definitely appreciate it. So I really hope, I mean, the guy who asked this question, I haven't heard from you since you asked the question. I hope you're not feeling self-conscious about it because this is all about helping each other. We're here to get honest, have honest discussion and find honest solutions to our relationship needs. And so hopefully you are taking this in with love because we're offering it with love. And if you have any other questions, please reach out, even if it's just to me private, like you did the first time, reach out. We got you. We got you. All right. Now let me transition since this question really brought up some interesting things for me because as I've responded to him, I'm thinking, well, sometimes dudes are very boring to me. It's like, why are you texting me good morning every single day and you have nothing else to talk about? Even sometimes I try to advance the conversation and it still goes nowhere because frankly I don't have that much energy to keep up with it, and if he doesn't take the hint it's like i, I don't know what to do for you, bro. Like I just cut him off. I can't keep doing it, I'm busy. And so I thought about just flirting in general and how people flirt at the beginning, like how people get to know each other, those first impressions, and also flirting when you have a set relationship, like an older relationship, because I think a lot of people get really comfortable and they think it's not necessary to be flirty and play games and, just act like silly little kids who are in love like you did at the beginning. at the beginning of, you really getting together, not when you first meet. So let's start with the first impressions, because I had a conversation with my friend the other day about some of this in terms of people creating transactional relationships from the beginning. She was talking about coffee dates in with another group, and a lot of people didn't think that was good. Like, they didn't think that was a good idea. It wasn't a real date. They were upset by it. And I thought, well, a coffee date as the first date seems like a great idea to me. Nobody is, spending a whole lot of time or money before they know if they like the other person. And that way, you have a little investment, and you figure out if you want more. And if you want a bigger investment, you could do something different. But that first time, that seems fair to me. But most times, a man or a masculine person, because I know everybody is not, male female here, but a lot of times the masculine person will offer something of value, like, let me take you to dinner. That's how they'll start out. Let me take you out to dinner and get to know you. Or let me take you for a drink and get to know you. And for many women, they expect these types of things, but it's completely transactional. And then you hear men say stuff like, um, comedians. I listen to comedy all day long. So you hear comedians say shit like, oh, you ordering from the fucking side of me. You know that, right? And it's like, it's funny, but I think that is how most men think. Like, really, like, I'm taking you out. If I'm taking you to this nice restaurant, then they are really expecting the payback to be some physical action in return. And so, give me your take on that in terms of just starting out, like how you start out to avoid this transactional relationship. Or even if you think it's not even a big deal. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to sound harsh, but that's the simp,
Ah,
because you're doing something with a purpose of expecting, right, some type of return or validation. If I take a woman out, I'm doing it to set the tone. This is how the rest of the relationship is going to go. And my girlfriend can vouch for that, right? Years later, I'm still doing the same thing. I still plan the date, right? She doesn't have to worry about anything. I still don't tell her where we're going. I just tell her what type of attire is appropriate, right? And for, in most of the cases. And it was that way from the beginning, right? How you start is, that's how it is in a relationship, especially for a guy, right? You cannot start off one way and think you're going to transition into another person later on. That's never
yeah,
going to work with a woman, right? Like, no, don't start it out. So that's the type of guy that, it's disingenuous. And, of course, we're taught to, behave that way. This is what I need to do. But that's really, it stems from low self esteem again, because it's like, I'm not going to lead with my personality. I'm not going to lead with our connection. I'm going to lead with my resources
right.
and what I can do for you. So that's my take on it. Hopefully, I was clear enough.
I think so. I think you broke up a little bit, but I think we got you. Like, it, the simp. That's the simp. That's the basic simp. Um, you might as well put the beans and weenies on too.
She must have some wine too on her, huh?
She's
You drink?
silly. She might. So silly. Listen, I mean, I agree though. Like, be who you are up front, because you can't keep that up. Nobody can. Women either. That's why I don't know about other women, but I really dislike being all dolled up all the time. So if I'm just meeting somebody and I know this is not my norm, when I go on a date, I'm not doing all that. I'm gonna take it a notch up from my, regular, day stuff, but I'm not gonna be super dolled up, gotta have hair done, nails done, everything done all the time, lashes and makeup and shit. I'm not doing that because that's not who I am. I can't keep that up. Um, I don't like it. It's not me. So it's important for me to show who I am up front so that there are no extra expectations. And some women do really enjoy all that. And they love being dolled up and that's their thing. And that's cool if that's regular. But yeah, I'll be like, I can't continue this. So let me show you right now. I don't do that. Look at her.
Air Max.
He gonna be yeah, Jay, I love her gym shoes. I mean, Air Max, especially to a coffee shop. Exactly. I had a coffee date the other day. Workout clothes, leggings, shirt, hoodie, boots, because it's cold out here. But really, I still look great because my body is tight, But that's my norm. That's my regular. That's what I look like. I put on some earrings that day. So, but anyway, Joe, thank you for that. Um, Let me see. The other thing, it sounds like now it feels like everything I say you're gonna be like that's the simp. Because I had an example when a guy I just met him, like we were talking back and forth, and he said something like, I'm sorry to bother you, I'm sorry to take your time, or something like that. And I was like that's the first thing out your mouth? Please don't. You shouldn't. And I told him, you shouldn't apologize. Just say what you want to say.
Right.
It's irritating and it's telling me that you're a punk. I don't know. Okay, not a punk, not confident.
Yes. I mean, I agree. If you have to apologize as an adult, oh, what's Jay saying? Something G'd up.
No, that's really true. That's very true. They want you to be super tight, short dress, 5-inch heels,
At breakfast.
makeup, all the whole deal. Yeah, I've gotten all the questions before, and I'd be like, I don't do that unless I'm still out from the club last night. We going to breakfast. I'm not wearing a dress and heels. Just saying. It's real.
True. Uh, yeah, this guy is displaying low self esteem. Why an adult would you consider yourself bothering someone who you are romantically interested in
Hmm.
by asking a question or saying anything? Um, that doesn't make sense. It's just a person who feels unworthy of your attention, to be honest. And they're trying to, sneak their way in there somehow, holding on by a thread, hoping that they can make it, to the next level, but they just don't feel worthy, to be honest.
Now that makes all the sense. And I know that happens on both ends for men and women, where the person will not feel worthy and they put what they think the other person want out there so heavily first. Like so a woman will automatically go to dressing provocative or be open to talking about sex when she really not ready, for that conversation with the guy she just met. Um, a guy, I have a friend, he's my friend now, but years ago when I first met him, the first thing he did was send me a picture of his boat and his RV. Like, I just got this new toy, about to be out on the lake. And I was like, first of all, I don't know you. So I'm not getting in your RV, creeper. And I'm not going out on the lake with you, especially by myself. Dude, I don't know you. Like, that's just weird. But that was his significance, before we got to know each other better. That was his significance, and that's what he presented. It was like, this is who I am. And I was busy, so I was like, I don't care. But later, after I got to know him, he's a good dude, and that's not who he is. But since he was unsure at first, that's how he presented. It definitely happens. Talking about a real boat, yeah, a real boat. A
Yeah,
yacht.
absolutely.
No,
And
she's so silly.
She's definitely great.
No, no, no. A real boat. People, around here. Well, oh yeah, because we have the lake. So a lot of people have boats, and take them out during our short summer in Chicago and enjoy themselves on the lake. Most people don't know how to sail, so they don't really go anywhere. They just have parties on the boat. So yeah, for sure. Okay. So I told you already about the good morning thing every day. Good morning. How you doing? I'm good. Every day. Over it. Okay. So is there anything, maybe I should just ask you right out, like what would you suggest in terms of first meeting? How can a man get a woman's attention without appearing like they're trying to buy her attention or like they feel unworthy of her time?
Well, it really goes back to an earlier point that I made, in that he needs to pretty much see what type of person she is first, or what type of person she seems to be, because that would eliminate a lot of the guesswork. Also, I think that it's important to lead lead where you want to go, because from my observation, experience, etc., if she's into you, she's not going to be overly concerned about all the details and logistics when it comes to dating. If she's really into you, she's going to be happy to get to know you. That's going to be number one.
Hmm.
Right. If you find yourself having to do extra stuff, you know what I mean, to gain or to keep her attention, she's not that into you. Number one. I have to say that.
Okay.
Or she's juggling you with a bunch of other people, right? And her attention is compartmentalized, which is a lot of people, a lot of people's situation. But then you got to decide, is that worth your time? You shouldn't be having to do a whole lot. You have to be equally attracted.
Okay. I feel you. Now, I want to ask you the same question for women because I want to get your opinion as a man. Because a lot of times I think women want to get past that view that man will have automatically because they'll get that message, girl, you fine or you're so beautiful, and that's the first thing the man sees. And sometimes it's irritating. It's like, I know, like that's it, that's all you got. And it goes off into a direction that we don't want sometimes. And I think some women don't know how to get past that. And I always say to avoid having a sexual conversation or a conversation about your body um, at the beginning, at the very beginning, to really move past that and try to talk to somebody and get to know them as an individual, what they like, where they're from, whatever, get to know them. Or but I should say not or, but play it off in a in a playful way. So don't get mad and shut them down, but just kind of enough of that. Let's talk about whatever. Because I think that's a light way to transition to where the woman really wants to go, which is who are you as a person, and are you, are we compatible enough for me to spend time with you, basically. So, from your perspective, from a man's perspective, what do you think women do to get past that physical that men show up with first or see first?
Hmm. Well, I mean, that's going to be inherently tough, because obviously we can't control other individuals. Um, but I would say using small details can help give hints. Like in the beginning, you can talk to someone in certain hours of the day, right? Like the daytime, and then you cut it off, and say,
Yeah,
hey, I'm going to bed at 7 o'clock. You know what I mean?
you're right. Good. Makes a
And
difference.
right, it can make a small difference. And then also, on your first date or a couple of dates, as you mentioned earlier, you know, do the daytime dates, the morning, the early afternoon to neutral places like you mentioned, a coffee shop. It's a neutral place. Now, a person who has nothing but, uh that on their mind, obviously, it's always going to be on their mind.
Right.
But a reasonable person subconsciously, right, if you're in certain settings, you're more or less likely to think about that. But you have to, like I said, start off and on those daytime dates, like you said, instead of throwing on a dress, you throwing on, your sweats or some pants, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, and just comfortable, clothing to introduce your personality first. Um, and a reasonable man should pick up on that.
Okay. Makes sense to me. And I don't think it's that difficult. Now, before we run out of time, I want to talk about flirting within the relationship because I think, I mean, at the beginning, it's like things like being funny is important. I think to a lot of women, it's important to me. I feel like if you can't take a joke or you ain't got no jokes, like come on, that's boring. Because I'm always gonna be talking shit. So I'm gonna need you to have thick skin, talk shit back. Like be cool, be flirty, and just loose and have fun, laugh, be able to to laugh at life. Um, and then of course, eventually you move into being authentic. But at first, it's like you're having fun. You find a way to have fun with each other. Now, later down the road, a year in, people get comfortable and the fun, they might still have fun, but it looks different, is not as often, and is not around the little things. I feel like the little things, if you can have fun with the little things, then you can really have a strong bond and keep things moving along smoothly. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree. I like what
Foreplay, that's real.
uh,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
Well, it's the connection. And once again, this kind of goes with something I mentioned earlier. It's the mental part. Like I said, um, a lot of people, we think that it's the other person, right, that is seducing us or giving us pleasure, but in reality it is our thought, it's our mental connection to the idea of this person,
Right.
right,
The
that's
meaning you're giving to it.
yes, that gives us the arousal. So yeah, the relationship part is the most important part. The building the relationship and being able to be playful with each other, being able to be in non-sexual environments, being able to have a wide variety of things to talk about and things to do is very important for the closeness of the relationship, because when we get down to the basic stuff, it's going to get old. All right, you have, you sleep with somebody for 30, 40 years, anything's going to get old. But what do you have that can last over time?
Mm-hmm.
And that is that closeness that you mentioned.
Yes, yes. I like it. And I think that's what it is. It has staying power. And
Yes.
Mason says a form of foreplay. And that's absolutely true. Because a lot of times people will complain about their sex lives. And I'd be like, so when you go to have sex or when you decide, like, do you make a decision? This is when we're going to have sex. Do you set groups? Like, how do you get there? How do you get to the bedroom? How do you get to the act? And there's no fun involved. It's so tactical. It's like, the kids go to bed at this time, or they'll be at grandma's house on this day, and or we just happened to get drunk one night, and that was the best sex we've had in a long time. I'm like, yeah, because you were relaxed and having fun. And I think a lot of people lose the fun in the foreplay, and they don't really have any foreplay. And so usually it's the woman who is tapped out,
Hey, can I say something real quick?
of course.
For the guys in general, dang, again, as I mentioned earlier, this is getting, man, they get so fixated, right, on trying to have the sex instead of focusing on the experience, focusing on learning the other person, getting to know them, right? And I'm not trying to simp out here, right? I'm not trying to, you know what I mean, put anybody down. What I'm saying is when things happen naturally, that's when you're going to have your best experience, right? But a lot of guys from day one, all you focus on is how am I going to get her in the bed, right? And that makes you not your authentic self. How many women have said, man, this dude was totally different before the first time we slept together. And
Yeah,
then he became a totally different person, right? And it's like because it wasn't him, right? He was focused on the goal and he
yeah,
couldn't be himself because that's he wanted something, right? Bad enough to where he was going to be whoever he had to be,
right.
you know. And like I was saying, you know, like we talking about a minute ago, it's not going to work for the long term. But when you're yourself and she's herself, and things happen when both of you are comfortable enough with each other, instead of thinking, well, I guess it's about time to do it. You know what I mean?
No,
it,
that's real.
yeah, and I think it's a better experience to be honest when it's not forced, it's not obligation.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, oh well, I guess it's been a few weeks. You know what I mean? There's no mutual attraction in the situation
Yes.
when you have to
That's
have,
right.
but it
Yeah,
happens a lot.
it does. It happens so often. And it's really hard on people's relationships because I mean, let's be frank, sex is a huge part of your relationship. If you can be the best of friends and sex is the only thing separating you from having a romantic relationship versus a friendship. So if you're in a romantic relationship, sex is important. And since you mentioned um, just men not being their authentic selves because they're so focused on sex, I have to provide the balance and say the same thing happens with women. They're so focused on getting that relationship or getting married because a lot of guys will say, women change after marriage, even though I think men do too. But it doesn't matter. I don't believe in marriage. But the process of just being laser focused on what you want, not what makes that other person light up, but just what you want. I want the relationship. I want the booty. And that's all you can see. So you mess up along the way because you're not being your authentic self. But if you focus on what lights the other person up, I think usually that lights you up too. Like if you like somebody, you are excited to see them happy because of something you did or said or whatever. What you think?
Right.
This this
Exactly. Uh, I think
that's how a lot of women feel though. Like, damn, this
it's a bad
yeah,
situation.
it's bad. It's
I
bad.
Yeah, I think absolutely that goes back to the mutual attraction. Like I said, when you're attracted, it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be difficult. It should be natural. And
Yeah,
of course, yeah, we all have outside influences, and people have their own ideas of how things should happen instead of just letting things happen, and
yes.
that interferes a lot in our behaviors, right, in our relationship because hardly anybody has their own personality to tell you the truth between TV and social media and the radio, right?
Yes.
Everybody's this robot or this character now. But but aside from that, it's about that mutual interest.
That's real. That is so real. Oh my goodness. It's like you have the people trying to be like somebody, and then you have those other people who are trying so hard to be unique that they aren't. It's like you doing the most. I'm different from everybody else. Yeah, no, because you shouldn't have to talk about it. Cut it out.
Oh
But
yeah, but yeah, if you gotta tell me, then that's not who you are.
it's not the truth, right?
Yeah,
So, but wow, thank you. This has been very insightful. Man, I appreciate your contribution today. Leo, I appreciate you all acting up in the chat as usual. Well, I would definitely be here every Tuesday. I'm gonna try to pull Dr. Leo in as often as he let me, but I would definitely be here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are going to explore different relationships going forward because, we haven't talked about the parent-child relationship, and we need to. A lot of parents out here living through their children and children suffering because of it. So next week, we are going to touch on the parent-child relationship. Send in your questions. Like this video, please, for me. Share it with someone who might be who might be helped by it. And come on back next week, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, next Tuesday. We're gonna do it again. Dr. Leo, would you like to leave us with some words?
Oh man. Of course. Appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully, you have something that you can take away from this. And what I want to leave you with is uh, spend a little less time with your outside influences and see how they will work for you. And that is also, guys, including these adult videos. Stop watching them and trying to imitate, bro. Cut it out. All right. And get to know your partner. That's another conversation.
No, I cannot. Joe, wait a minute. Those of you who were here last week, 2 weeks ago,
What did I do?
know that question came up. Joe, this is why I keep inviting you, Joe.
That's crazy.
Listen,
I'm just thinking that's a part of not being yourself, is what I'm saying, right?
OMG.
Things and we want to imitate, and
Yeah,
we're like, that must be what I need to do. And you never even try to get a feel right for this person and see for yourself. You
right.
just do the mental playbook and say, oh, wait, I saw this happen and she seemed to be enjoying it. So this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to be the man. Stop, bro. And guess what? I don't date men. I don't sleep with men. But I know this is what's going on out here because
It is.
I can tell by the rest of their personality you want to be somebody else.
Yes. And the same thing is going on with women too. And we address this in this way, really, because we said 2 weeks ago, listen, porn is not real. Stop basing your sex life on porn. Nobody really likes that shit in real life. You don't need to look like a porn star. You don't need to act like it's a whole lot of work for no good reason. Cut it out. Get to know your partner because you're never helping her, never making her come. But you're never helping her orgasm trying to be a porn star. You suck and you're gonna get cheated on. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't say that.
Cut it out. No, for women too. Cut it out. And that's what people get these ideas of body changes and enhancements and all this dumb stuff. The amount of penis enlargement commercials that come on in the middle of the night are ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I used to sell penis medication, so I know how important men's penises are to them. They will buy that before they buy heart medicine. I swear to God. But same thing with women. Breast enlargement, booty, whatever, the whole snatch look, like the idea that this is what works for the opposite sex based on porn or what you see on TV. It's just not real.
Absolutely. Women too. Yeah. Not realizing what's actually going on.
Yeah,
You're just assuming that this is what's going to make you happy and you're not paying attention. Absolutely.
right. And you're still not having orgasms, which is a problem. So, Dr. Leo, we couldn't have wrapped it up better. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to you all who are going to see this later. Please like this video, share this video, and come on back next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. where we will have a conversation about our parent-child relationships. Okay. Until then, y'all, peace and love.
Peace, guys.